Me? I was right here. Who did you leave him with?
January 22nd, 2008. Manhattan moved like any normal winter morning. Taxis rushed through the streets, offices opened, phones kept ringing. But inside a luxury apartment in downtown New York, something was wrong. The door stayed closed. Calls went unanswered. Hours passed in silence. When someone finally entered the room, a 28-year-old movie star was found lying motionless on the bed. There were no signs of violence, no struggle, no final message. Only silence, confusion, and prescription bottles nearby. Within minutes, the news spread across the world. Hollywood stopped. Fans refused to believe it. How could one of the most gifted actors of his generation be gone so suddenly, right in the middle of his rise? Then the rumors began. Some blamed exhaustion. Some blamed the pressure of fame. Others pointed to the medications found in the room. But one theory rose above all the others almost instantly. Had the role of the Joker pushed him too far? It sounded like the perfect tragic headline. A brilliant young actor disappears into one of cinema's darkest characters and never fully returns. The story was dramatic, unforgettable, and easy to believe. But real life is rarely that simple.
Because the truth may have started long before that apartment. Long before the Joker makeup, the twisted laugh, and the performance that would later become legendary, Heath Ledger was already carrying pressures the public could not see. He had fame, money, talent, and admiration from millions. He was young, successful, and seemingly unstoppable. From the outside, he looked like someone who had everything. So why did it all end in silence? To understand what really happened that night, we have to go back to the image the world loved and the private struggles hidden behind it.
To the world, Heath Ledger looked like the kind of star Hollywood creates once in a generation. He was handsome without trying, charismatic without effort, and talented in a way that felt natural. Born in Australia, he arrived in the industry with the energy of someone who did not want to follow the usual path. When 10 Things I Hate About You turned him into an international heartthrob, audiences saw a charming young leading man with an easy smile and endless potential. It would have been simple for him to stay there, taking safe roles and enjoying fame. But Heath seemed uncomfortable with easy success. He did not want to be known only as the attractive guy on movie posters. He wanted respect. He wanted difficult roles. He wanted to be taken seriously as an artist. That ambition led him into riskier performances, and slowly, the public image began to change. Films like Monsters Ball and Brokeback Mountain proved he was far more than a teen idol. Critics praised his depth, his emotional control, and the intensity he brought to the screen.
Outside of acting, he also appeared to be building a meaningful life. He fell in love, became a father, and seemed to be maturing into something rare in Hollywood, a serious actor with a grounded private world. To many people, Heath Ledger was becoming the complete package. Fame, talent, respect, family, and a future that looked limitless. But public images are often built from distance. The camera captures confidence, not restlessness. Interviews show charm, not sleepless nights. Success can hide pressure better than failure ever could. And behind Heath's rising career was a man who seemed to be searching for something fame could not give him. But that's only part of the story.
Even in the early years, there were signs that Heath Ledger was not built for the version of fame Hollywood wanted from him. While many young actors chase popularity, Heath often seemed to resist it. After becoming famous through romantic roles, he could have stayed in that lane for years. It would have been safer, easier, and extremely profitable. But he pushed in the opposite direction. He wanted darker characters, complicated stories, and roles that carried emotional weight. That choice earned respect, but it also revealed something deeper about him. Heath was never satisfied with simply being liked. Friends and colleagues often described him as intensely creative. His mind was active, curious, and constantly moving. He was interested in photography, directing, music, and ideas beyond acting. That kind of energy can create brilliance, but it can also make rest difficult. For some people, silence feels peaceful. For others, silence makes the mind louder. Heath increasingly seemed like the second type. As his career grew, so did expectations. Every successful role created pressure to top the last one. Every public appearance added another layer to the image people expected him to maintain. He was still young, but already carrying the demands of an industry that moves fast and forgets quickly. In Hollywood, staying relevant can become a full-time psychological burden.
There were also hints that rest was becoming harder for him. Reports and interviews later suggested he struggled with sleep, sometimes getting only a few hours a night. That detail may sound small, but lack of sleep changes everything. It affects judgment, mood, focus, patience, and emotional stability. And when someone is already under pressure, exhaustion can quietly magnify every problem. From the outside, none of this looked dramatic. There were no public meltdowns, no major scandals, no obvious collapse. That is what made it easy to miss. Heath was still working, still smiling, still delivering strong performances. But some struggles do not announce themselves. They build slowly, behind closed doors, while the public sees only the polished version. Most people assumed success would calm his life down. It may have done the opposite. And just as the pressure was building, Heath entered a relationship that seemed like it might finally bring him balance. But what happened next changed everything.
When Heath Ledger met Michelle Williams during the filming of Brokeback Mountain, it seemed like life was finally shifting into something steadier. They were both respected actors, both serious about their craft, and unlike many celebrity couples, they appeared private, grounded, and focused on family rather than attention. When their daughter Matilda was born, the image became even stronger. To the public, Heath was no longer just a rising star. He was becoming a father, a partner, and a man building a real life beyond Hollywood. For a while, it looked like the kind of stability many believed he needed. Fame is easier to handle when there is something real waiting at home. And those close to Heath often described how deeply he loved being a father. It seemed to bring out a softer side of him, one less interested in image and more interested in meaning. But private happiness does not erase private pressure. Both Heath and Michelle had demanding careers. Their schedules were intense, travel was constant, and balancing work with family life was never simple. While the public saw a beautiful couple, those closest to celebrity life know that distance, exhaustion, and constant scrutiny can slowly wear down even strong relationships.
Around this time, reports suggested Heath's sleep issues were worsening. He was working heavily, traveling often, and trying to manage multiple responsibilities at once. The same restless energy that fueled his creativity may also have made peace harder to hold on to. Some people can carry stress for years before cracks appear. Then, suddenly, everything shifts. In 2007, Heath Ledger and Michelle Williams separated. There was no explosive scandal, no dramatic public war, no headline-making betrayal. But quiet breakups can still hit the hardest, especially when children are involved, especially when the relationship once looked like a safe place from the chaos outside. After the separation, something seemed different. Heath was still respected, still booking major roles, still moving forward professionally. But personally, he appeared more adrift. He was splitting time between cities, juggling projects, and entering a phase where success on paper may have hidden growing instability underneath. He wasn't falling apart in public. He was unraveling quietly. And right when his personal life was becoming more fragile, he accepted the role that would define him forever.
When it was announced that Heath Ledger would play the Joker in The Dark Knight, many people doubted the decision immediately.
At that time, the Joker was already one of cinema's most iconic villains, and Heath was still remembered by some as the handsome romantic lead from earlier films. Critics questioned whether he had the darkness, danger, or unpredictability the role demanded. To some, the casting felt wrong. To Heath, it became a challenge. Instead of defending himself publicly, he did what he often did best. He disappeared into the work. Reports from those involved with the film described how seriously he approached the character. He isolated himself for stretches of time, experimented with voice, posture, facial expressions, and built a version of the Joker that felt unsettling in ways audiences had never seen before. This was not a cartoon villain. It was chaos in human form. He also reportedly kept a diary while preparing for the role, collecting images, thoughts, and inspirations connected to the character. After his death, that diary became part of the mythology. To many fans, it looked like proof that Heath had gone too deep, that the Joker had consumed him from the inside. It was a powerful story, and it spread quickly. But powerful stories are not always complete stories.
There is no confirmed evidence that playing the Joker directly caused Heath Ledger's death. That claim became popular because it was dramatic and emotionally satisfying. It gave people one clear explanation for something painful and confusing. But real life rarely works that way. By the time Heath played the Joker, several pressures were already present in his life. He had spoken about trouble sleeping. He was navigating a recent breakup. He was working intensely and moving between projects. He carried the expectations that come with serious fame and serious talent. What Joker may have revealed was not sudden destruction, but Heath's deeper pattern as an artist. He did not approach roles lightly. He committed fully. He pushed himself hard. He chased something authentic even when it cost comfort. For audiences, that level of dedication creates unforgettable performances. For the person living inside it, the cost can be harder to measure. The world wanted one villain in the story, one reason, one cause. But tragedies are usually built from many smaller things happening at once. Exhaustion, isolation, pressure, restlessness, ambition, personal pain hidden behind professional success. And while audiences were preparing to witness the performance of a lifetime, Heath Ledger may already have been carrying more weight than anyone realized. The next stage of his life would make that impossible to ignore. By the end of 2007, Heath Ledger's career looked stronger than ever. He had completed The Dark Knight, and those who had seen early footage reportedly knew something special had happened. The same actor many once doubted had transformed one of the most famous villains in film history into something fresh, disturbing, and unforgettable. Professionally, he was heading toward a new peak. But privately, the picture appeared far less stable. He moved into another demanding project, the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. There was little sign of a long break, little sense that he was slowing down. For some actors, constant work becomes momentum. For others, it becomes escape. Only Heath truly knew what it meant for him. What people around him did notice was that he seemed tired. Several reports from that period described him as exhausted, dealing with ongoing sleep problems, and struggling to rest properly. Heath himself had spoken in interviews about nights where his mind would not switch off. He described sleeping only a few hours, then waking again with thoughts racing. To many people, insomnia sounds minor compared to addiction or scandal. But prolonged lack of sleep can quietly damage almost every part of a person's life. It weakens the body, clouds judgment, intensifies anxiety, and makes emotional stress harder to carry. What made the situation more dangerous was how normal he could still appear. He was working, he was meeting people, he was functioning. There was no dramatic public collapse, no headline announcing that something was seriously wrong. That is often how hidden burnout works. A person can keep moving long after they have started breaking down internally. At the same time, Heath was balancing distance from family, professional expectations,
and the strange emotional aftermath of finishing a role as intense as the Joker. Whether the role itself harmed him remains debated, but there is little doubt it demanded enormous energy. And when someone already running on empty gives even more of themselves, the bill often arrives later. To the outside world, Heath Ledger was still the gifted young star entering the greatest chapter of his career. But behind the scenes, warning signs were becoming harder to ignore. Fatigue, sleeplessness, isolation, pressure. None of them dramatic alone, dangerous together. That is what makes stories like this so unsettling. Sometimes collapse does not look like collapse. Sometimes it looks like another normal day. And then came January 22nd.
January 22nd, 2008, began like an ordinary day in New York. There was no public sign that history was about to stop. Inside Heath Ledger's apartment in Soho, appointments had been scheduled, routines were in motion, and life appeared to be continuing as normal. Then, sometime that afternoon, concern turned into alarm when he could not be reached. He was later found unresponsive in his bedroom. The shock was immediate. Heath Ledger was only 28 years old. He was in the middle of major projects, widely respected, and on the edge of what many believed would be the biggest phase of his career. For millions of people, the news did not make sense. Soon after, the official findings concluded that his death was accidental, caused by the combined effects of multiple prescribed medications. It was not ruled a suicide. That distinction matters. But even with an official explanation, public questions did not disappear. In many ways, they only grew louder. Why? Because people often struggle to accept quiet causes behind devastating endings. A violent scandal can feel easier to understand than exhaustion and medication. A dramatic enemy feels simpler than a private health crisis. Heath's death had none of the obvious narrative people expect. No clear downfall, no public self-destruction, no final confession. Just a talented young man gone suddenly. Then came the media storm. Every detail was dissected. Phone calls, who was contacted first, who knew what. Names connected to his private life were pulled into headlines. Rumors spread faster than facts. Some stories were exaggerated. Others were impossible to verify. And with every new theory, the same question returned. Was the Joker somehow involved? There is no confirmed evidence that playing the Joker directly caused Heath Ledger's death. That remains speculation. Yet the theory endured because it emotionally fit the moment. People had seen his terrifying performance. They knew he had spoken about sleeping difficulties. They wanted one clear explanation for a painful loss.
But another perspective may be more honest. The Joker was not the cause people wanted it to be. It may simply have become the symbol attached to a deeper struggle already underway. Insomnia, stress, pressure, physical exhaustion, emotional strain, medication use in the middle of all of it. Maybe people blamed the Joker because the truth was harder to face. Sometimes tragedy does not come from one dramatic event. Sometimes it comes from many invisible burdens carried for too long.
Months after Heath Ledger's death, The Dark Knight was released. What audiences saw was extraordinary. His Joker was chaotic, intelligent, funny, terrifying, and impossible to ignore. It was not just a great performance. It became one of the most iconic performances in modern film history. The same role once doubted by critics was now being praised around the world. Then came another painful twist. Heath Ledger won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor after his death. It was one of the highest honors of his career, yet he was not there to witness it. He never saw the full reaction. He never heard the standing ovations in theaters. He never watched the world realize just how great he truly was. So, did the Joker destroy Heath Ledger?
maybe that question was never the right one.
There is no clear evidence that one role alone caused what happened. Real life is usually more complicated than headlines. Heath's story appears to be one of overlapping pressures: sleeplessness, emotional strain, relentless work, private battles, and the weight that can come with extraordinary talent. The Joker may not have broken him, but it became forever linked to a tragedy people still struggle to understand. That may be why his story continues to resonate. Heath Ledger was not simply a celebrity who died young. He was a rare artist who gave everything to his craft while carrying burdens the public could not see. His life reminds us that success does not always equal peace, and admiration does not always reveal suffering. Maybe the truth is more complicated than we think, and maybe that complexity is exactly why the world still cannot let him go.
If you enjoy documentaries that explore the hidden truth behind fame, talent, and the lives the public never fully sees, subscribe and stay with us for the next story. Some legends leave behind more than memories. They leave questions that never truly fade.